Now, a man was arrested after hitting a police cruiser with his four-wheeler yesterday. Officers were in the Fuller Road and Sheridan Street area helping Springfield police find an armed robbery suspect. They learned the suspect was driving an off-road vehicle. The officers then came across a four-wheeler stopped at a red light and turned on their lights to pull it over. Police say the driver, 20-year-old Daniel Walker from Springfield, then revved the engine, causing the four-wheeler to hit the cruiser. Walker then jumped off the vehicle and ran into the nearby woods. He was caught quickly and will now have to answer to several charges, reckless driving related charges. And this isn't Walker's first run-in with the law. He was one of 3 people arrested after a group of Springfield police officers were injured during a traffic stop back in September of 2023. Walker, who was allegedly driving a stolen Hyundai, backed into a Springfield police cruiser on Maple Street with 2 officers inside. He then allegedly sped forward, drove over another officer's foot, and took off. Walker continued driving erratically before crashing into another cruiser on Central Street, injuring 2 officers inside. He was arrested and charged with assault and battery, leaving the scene of an accident and more.